China is once again under the lens of Western nations for a wrong reason. As per a report by Reuters, these nations, including those which are part of the G7, are planning to appeal to Beijing to stop North Korea evade sanctions by using its territorial waters. This comes as the West toughens its stance on Pyongyang over its ceaseless missile launches. Now, as per the report, the G7, European Union and 3 other countries are concerned about presence of multiple oil tankers in China's territorial waters. These nations believe that such tankers are supplying petroleum products to North Korea and helping it evade the sanctions imposed by the United Nations. They are also having satellite images of the same to support their claims. A letter in this regard, too, has been drafted and was signed by dignitaries from the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea and the European Union.
기동미사일 연대는 9월 15일 새벽
And joining us on Wild DNA this Saturday for more on this update is Collins Chong, who's a foreign affairs and security strategist, University Malaya, live from Malaysia. Collins Chong, welcome to WION World is One. I would just begin by asking, what is the relevance of, countries in the G7 to come and help or aid in this restructuring or what is happening in North Korea at this moment? Do you think North Korea will listen to a letter or to appeal from the G7?
Good morning. Thank you. Great to be here. You have seen how the nature of relations, Pyongyang and Washington has evolved for the past couple of years since Obama's time. We have seen how the bold move by Trump, and now that supposed to be back to status quo again under the Biden administration, and Beijing has been using the Pyongyang card to its own advantage. We have seen how it realizes that Pyongyang remains the only opening still left in its Eastern Hemisphere. Now that it has been, there's this blockade in the south. Vietnam now is being courted by Washington even more deeply. We have seen how Japan and South Korea are now, of course, in Western orbits. The Philippines moving deeper into Washington's sphere of influence, and the West has also made its ground in India, and of course in West Asia and South Asia. So Pyongyang remains a great leverage for Beijing. And that Jong-un also realizes that it needs to be wary of the increasingly, the influential nature of NATO now moving to Asia. We have seen how the NATO summit in Lithuania has been used by Beijing to increase its encirclement of Taiwan and to use that as a pretext for greater, expansive and bellicose actions in the region, in Taiwan Strait. And of course, Pyongyang remains a great, asset to Beijing in terms of using that as another second front, apart from Moscow, to ensure that he has greater leverage, he has greater bargaining chip against Western sanctions and Western movements. Right. And of course, Washington realizes that, and you further compel and put further pressure on Beijing to ensure that it complies with international norms and rules, in ensuring that Pyongyang plays by the rules, and also it enforces the sanctions in place, knowing that he has been, obviously, violating the sanctions in place, helping, aiding Pyongyang in this regard. And both also realize the importance of, keeping NATO at bay. Now that, it might also include Pyongyang in his this next term of awareness on the need to contain not only Beijing, but also not only Moscow, but also any kind of, bellicose actions that are, violating international norms and rules. And that also will include Pyongyang in the future. So,
Collins
that is the whole.
Let me intervene here and ask this question. Right. South Korea reported that North Korea did continue with its test launches or missile test launches in the Yellow Sea, which is between China and the Korean Peninsula. And North Korea insists that they will continue with their nuclear use. What do you say about this statement by North Korea, that it remains unperturbed, it remains, usually defeated? It says that it will continue with the nuclear use. What impact will that have?
Of course, it will greatly affect the closest neighbor. Of course, Seoul will be the greatest victim in this regard, and Tokyo has also felt the jitters. And of course, both are seeking greater, nuclear assurances from Washington under this nuclear umbrella. And Jong-un is strategic in this sense that you use this, of course, to solicit greater, overtures from Washington in terms of having this greater enrichment of discussions and negotiations. We have seen how during, Trump administration, Trump is bold enough to meet Jong-un, twice in a row, and that, of course, now is seeking to have the same kind of attention, overtures from the Biden administration, and putting on all these measures in place, from ballistic testing, and all this are meant to send a message not only to Washington but also to Beijing that, look, you need to be on our side, and you can't, move it alone, and that you need us to have this collective, joint, united front facing the West, and of course the sanctions by Washington, and that this is meant also with the upcoming presidential election of the U.S. in May next year,
right,
and how the potential maybe comeback of Trump will change the whole power play in the region, and that of course Jong-un is seeking to seek the best arrangement for North Korea, and that he doesn't see so under the Biden administration, and now that he needs to play a higher card in terms of soliciting greater returns to Pyongyang's assurances. Now that we have seen how the greater encroachment, as they have argued on Beijing and Pyongyang's part of NATO and of other Western containment measures, and these are the leverage and bargaining chip that they have in place. Of course, Beijing now has Taiwan and has North Korea in his playbook to ensure that he has a greater negotiating power with the West. And of course, Blinken's and Yellen's visit also added to the whole architecture where they are seen by Republicans in the US as being kowtowing to Beijing's needs and pandering to Beijing. So all these are also in play in Beijing's next power play game.
All right, I've been talking to Collins Chong, live from Malaysia at the University of Malaya. Collins, thank you very much for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.